Hello audience, and welcome to the Gory Details. This episode of Gory Details is about rollovers, and I will start by talking about a rollover that I was in, or a near rollover. I have pictures. Here's a rollover that I was in. Commuter bus on the freeway. It went over the guardrail and almost into this ravine. There were no seatbelts. We all probably would have died. It was then I decided, I want to make something of this since God has spared my life. Before I get into it, I want to show you a couple of dishonorable mentions in the rollover category. First is the relatively new car, the Jeep Wrangler, which rolls over in a overlap crash test, which is inexcusable, particularly when most people don't use them for their intended purpose, which was to go off-road slowly over rough terrain with a lot of traction and a high wheelbase so we could go over holes and logs and things and ford streams. If you drive at high speed on the freeway, all you have is a very high center of gravity and nothing that guarantees you that it has good crash protection, and they can flip over very easily. But they don't tell you that. Another honorable mention, because the car isn't made anymore, was the Suzuki Samurai, which was notorious for flipping over. Every once in a while, there are these really, really dangerous cars that come out. And then there are exceptions to that, really, really safe cars that are produced with some great ingenuity, which the car companies are very capable of. But anyway, let's get into the gory details. Remember a few minutes ago when we were talking about the roof squishers? Remember these things? Cars that don't have a roof? Well, what's going on there? How does that work?
Der Peugeot 308cc liefert hier ein durchschnittliches Ergebnis ab. Es gibt leicht erhöhte Belastungswerte an den Dummies. Jedoch bleibt die Fahrgastzeit.
Well, as I said before, these car companies can be really smart when they want to. So for convertibles, they invented this. One thing that was very annoying I found in researching rollovers is, in addition to the fact there aren't a whole lot of them, is they're always mixed in with these put on your seatbelt ads, and then you get all these projectile videos, and it's like, we get the point already. Can we see what it looks like with the seatbelts on, please, for the rest of us? Oh, here's a little tip for you kids. Sit on the inside seat in your school bus. Got that? Please. But the classic way to protect the race cars is with what's called a roll cage. This is a roll cage. Now you can put one in yourself, but it would be insane. Only an expert should do that. You will mess it up. You can buy some sports cars that are ready for the road with a roll cage in them, but those are generally a little bit under a couple $100,000. If your car hasn't been squish tested and you don't have $180,000 to spend on a BMW M4 fully stocked that has a roll cage, you don't have those magic convertible seats because you don't have a convertible, what can you do? Well, there is a kind of racing league which features modest everyday cars but with great safety features. They aren't crazy expensive. However, the racing is the mostest crazy. If you thought Formula One and NASCAR and GT racing and all those guys were crazy and dangerous, you don't know what crazy is. Let me introduce you to crazy. Welcome to the world of rally racing. Rally racing is crazy. And the craziest part isn't even the drivers, it's the fans who stand on the side of the road to take pictures. You may not have heard of rally because it's popular mostly in Scandinavia, Eastern Europe and Western Europe some, and then is popular but kind of small time. In the 70s it was more popular, in the 80s. You won't see too many Lamborghinis or Ferraris in the rally race, but you will see Subarus, Toyotas, and modest cars, but fully stocked with safety equipment. And we can learn a lot from this. Here's an actual crash. Somebody and their rally partner. And you'll see the roof cave in. And you'll see it gets protected very well by the roll cage. Another thing that's interesting is you'll notice that people don't act like crash test dummies when they're in a crash. Their arms don't flail all about and everything. They tend to hold themselves in and tight. The driver's still holding onto the wheel. Little interesting tidbit. The whole reason I'm talking about rally cars so much is that basically these are regular cars with a few extra safety features added in, and a turbocharger and some extra suspension, but to begin with, they were regular cars, affordable, normal cars. In fact, you can buy them used, but you wouldn't want to do that either because to make them lighter, they've had the interiors ripped out of them, and you'd probably find them very ugly to look at. And the one-seater cars have the second seat removed. You can buy them used though. There are sites to buy used rally cars if you really want to. And I'm sure they're great. Now you might be thinking, I just bought a car. I didn't check all that stuff. What am I going to do? Am I scarude? Well, not entirely. Let me demonstrate on my own car. Don't laugh at my car. Look at the crash test. Look at the crash test. You see? You see? Remember when I said you can't tell how safe a car is when you look at it? The variables in a crash test are really pretty simple. You want to keep as much space between you and the car as possible. You want to keep this seat steady and keep the space to the dashboard as big as possible. What we've learned from the race car drivers is that most people don't sit in the optimal posture. If you sit low and back like they do, you have more peripheral vision, you have a lot more space in the car, between your head and the roof, between the doors and your body. You want to keep the body back and into the car. So if the roof gets crushed in, you want some room to spare. So that is why we sit back and low. If you look, race cars are designed to sit low. When a seatbelt activates, it uses a system which, when the car suddenly jolts one way or up or back, the seatbelt will lock. But it's going to lock at whatever position you're sitting in, plus a little bit of a lurch forward if you're in a head-on collision, for example. So if I'm sitting this way, the seatbelt's like this, it'll lock right here. But if I'm sitting this way, the seatbelt will lock about right here, which gives me a lot more room here and here. And that is why you want to sit back. I did a little experiment to estimate what the difference was in seating postures in my car. If I sit like most people sit, I get about a 14 centimeter clearance to the windshield. If I sit the way I usually sit, which is a race car position, I get a 25 centimeter clearance to the windshield. Plus I'm lower down. So that's a big difference.